Alright, I'm going to give some information about the registry and the data and what we're doing with it, why it's important. But first, thank you to the UK families for fundraising for this family meetup. We reached our goal, which was awesome. And I already read our mission earlier, but our desired impact is to increase patient engagement in the registry. Our current goal is to have 200 completed surveys with genetic reports. We have a bunch of surveys in there, but not all of them have the genetic reports, and those are important for the researchers. So our charter, we have a registry charter. It's a committee that manages matters relating to the protocol development, the governance structure, sharing, analysis, research, collaborations. And our registry is endorsed by the United States FDA and the National Organization for Rare Diseases, or NORD. This is our registry charter members. Again, international representation of researchers and people on the voting members. We are starting a scientific family committee in 2020, and we're adding new charter members in 2020 also. Our registry is a longitudinal study, so it studies data over time. That's why it's important to retake the surveys, because when you do the surveys after 6 months, year and a half, you're going to have updated medicine, updated dosages, you might have new symptoms. So it is important after you go in and do it the first time to make sure that you keep it updated so that the researchers have the best information possible, they have the most up-to-date information that they need. And the things that the registry collects are the surveys, first of all, and then any kind of clinical data like the EEGs, MRIs, and any educational records. So things from their school that they use to help them function and things like that. So this kind of shows our registry engagement. That graph just, obviously when we first launched it, there was a huge interest. And then it also kind of points out things that were going on at the time within the Syngap community, and that kind of shows us what we need to do to get more involvement. So if there's a spike in involvement, we kind of know what was happening at that time, and we can try and push for more of that to get as much involvement as possible. But if you look at all these numbers, there's only 10 updated surveys out of all the surveys that were in there. So keeping them up to date is pretty important. This shows the public funding. This is only for the U.S., but Bridge the Gap started in 2014, and you can see after that the funding had greatly increased because we were able to get patients involved and we're able to get information out there. This one shows different publications for Syngap. Publications give out information. So the more publications there are, the more information that's out there. It helps to target more precision treatments and just give a general education. So 3 big questions. Why is it important? How do we use it? And how is it used to find treatments? So first of all, burden study data. So we need this data to discover biomarkers. There's already been one found using our registry data. So it is important. Also, they look at the impact and overall cost of a particular disease from multiple perspectives. So depending on where you're at, you might have a different, like they're talking about in the US, we have access to lovastatin, here you don't. So it gives a wide range of information that can be used. Demographic data is important. It kind of tells us if there's any long-range trends. Is it more predominant in girls or boys? Is it in one area over another? So it kind of gives different information than the study of burden data. And quality of life data is important. There's not a cure yet, but if we can get quality of life data, then it's possible to get clinicians out there to give the best treatments possible now, instead of what can happen in the future, what can we do now to help the quality of life for the patients with Syngap now. But all the data is important to getting treatments, and the more data we have, the more accessible it is to researchers all over the world. So, we try to engage the patient community with the family meetups. We've had a few. There are definitely more planned for the future, but we want to empower the patient group to get involved, because you're really what's going to drive the data forward, your involvement. So we're going to have future family meetups. We have the email reminders, the direct messages to participants. All of the presentations that were done today are on the Facebook page. They're saved on there. So you can go back and re-listen or look at the slides, because the slides were part of it also. Okay, registry projects. There are currently 9 active registry projects. The standard of care and treatment guidelines just came out, and part of it is in your folder. So it was published. There's another part that's going to come out. But these are things that the data is giving information to. There is a certain protocol for researchers or groups that want to access the data. There is a certain protocol that we have to go through. So first, there has to be IRB approved abstract summary of the project that they're working on. And then there's a letter of intended use of the data, the signed letter of confidentiality, signed sharing agreement. After all of that's received, the committee reviews it and they make a decision. So the recommendation will be presented to the Board of Trustees for a vote, and then they release the data after all of those other steps have been reached. But the data is free to anyone that has been approved. So they're not paying specifically for the data. But if you have specific questions, you can ask or email Monica. She will gladly answer any of the questions that you have about the registry. Yeah.
I just have an observation. So the statistics are, pretty poor really for the population of the registry. Yeah. If you go back to one of those previous slides, and if I compare, and I'm very positive about it. I contribute and hopefully I'm one of those updated 10. But if I compare it to the study that I think was Danique last camp's paper, I think 57, am I right? Somebody probably know the room. I think participated in that, and something made that happen. And I think we had to. I remember speaking to her, and I think maybe she accessed. I don't know. Do we give the information directly? But that worked,
Sure. Well, they're very different things. Last time paper was a clinical paper.
But we still provided very similar information. So
sure.
She got genetic reports, she got a lot of our reports. So something made 57 people contribute to that. Okay, I know it doesn't have the whole behavioural piece, but
sure.
There's something.
So that was basically coming at the same problem from 2 different perspectives. So that the last time paper was a medical paper driven by doctors putting their patients in, and they're motivated to do that because they can get their name on a paper.
Yeah.
This is community driven, if you like. This has got a lot more potential.
Totally no, and sorry, I'm really positive about it. I'm trying to. We needed some sort of better motivator. Like, what's stopping people not? Like, why do we have the? If you put the slide back, why are there so many? Why are there so few genetic reports up?
Well,
in the
there's
registry.
a few reasons for that. I mean, presumably we're preaching to the choir here, and as much as people that are here are motivated clearly by being here. So presumably a lot of people have contributed to this already. So it's you lot getting out of social media, getting more people to do that.
I think I'd rather unhappily say that I haven't done it.
Yeah,
well, it's not a name and shame necessarily.
No, but I'm actually sitting here and it makes me realise actually that I should.
Life's busy, isn't it?
So we will get it done.
Sure, so that's...
I mean, I do know that it takes a long time to fill them out. So I know that there's been a bunch of people that have started and got overwhelmed and maybe haven't come back to it yet.
That's me.
Yeah.
So we
Or
do it in
didn't
chunks.
have all the information they needed at the time and haven't come back to it yet.
Or maybe like a helpline or something. I think
Yeah, I
there,
think
there may
that's
be some,
it.
we need some tools to help
I got really
people.
frustrated because
Yeah.
I was uploading loads of information about the different index lists.
Yeah.
And none of it was saved, and it drove me mad.
Yeah.
I just gave up.
Yeah.
And that is the design of the software.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
not the motivation. It's
Well, and this
the
is new for us also, you know, that's why we're starting the family committee, so that we can get feedback on how to make it easier, or how to get people involved, or what we need to do to increase the participation. That was the reason for the family committee. So it's getting there, it is a process.
Yeah,
But
I just
we're
think
trying.
that user interface factor
User
is
interface.
So
a
to
really
feed those
big issue.
from the
Yeah.
past, it's evolving.
Well, English is the standard, we're working on other languages, but also that takes time. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And if you have those specific feedback type things, if you put it on your form, we can definitely submit those. So we can get it worked out. Other questions?
Thank you. Now I think it's John, that's right, who's coming up to do the final piece for today.
Yes, I was just going to say, my name's not Melanie. I just want to get that clear. I did childcare this morning, and so she's doing her bit now. So I just want to, it's just a lot of thank yous really. I'll start by saying what a good day it's been. I'm reading up here, I know it's not perfect, but I'll lose track otherwise. And I'm sure everybody will take something from today. If it's in me, the science goes over the top of my head, to be fair. But from a parent's point of view, I think it's been pitched at the right level. There's been plenty of opportunities for questions. I didn't listen to all the presentations this morning, so I've yet to listen to James, which I will do on Facebook later on. But everything I've heard today it's been fantastic really. It's been a useful, I hope it's been as useful for professionals as it has been for parents, because I know I certainly have found it so, and I'll definitely be watching certainly this afternoon's session on the internet again, because obviously there are little bits that I just didn't take in. It's been good to catch up with familiar faces as well, but it's also a good opportunity to meet new families and exchange experiences. So in that sense, I've really enjoyed it. I'll move on to the thank yous now. I'll get those out of the way. Can I say thank you to Patrick Wild Centre, everybody who's spoken, Andrew Stansfield, Nick Parker, Jane Waite, Dougal Hare, Ruth Phillip and Professor Peter Kind. I'd also like to say a thank you to all those people who have raised funds to get today to happen, because without them it wouldn't have happened. I'll just mention a few, so it's not everybody, but I'll just mention a few. Louise Watson for running the London Marathon. I hope she's got her breath back. If it was me, I would have been just reaching the finishing line now. Joanne Nash, who also ran a marathon. There's a lot of parents here. Also, all the employees of Wigan Borough Council who have been raising funds for this. And all those other people who have not mentioned, you know who you are, so thank you very much for that. And the last thank you is to our friends in Texas, Monica and Kate from Bridge the Gap, not just for funding, but also for organising today, because I know they've done an awful lot of groundwork for this. This might have been the first UK conference, but I would hope there's going to be future ones. And here comes the plea. If you can organise a coffee morning, a sponsored run, whatever, to raise those funds, then we can make future events happen. And I'm sure, you know, Patrick Well Centre will be appreciative of all of those fundraising activities. I hope you've all had a good day and enjoyed it, and hope to see you all at a conference in the not too distant future. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. The last thing I would mention is you've got some feedback forms. If you could please fill in your feedback forms, because they are read and they will make note of them.
Can you show us what they look like? Or is that one?
So the last thing I will say, in the words of Bruce Forsyth, didn't they do well?